What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video, and by the title of this video, you can tell what we're going to be doing. We are doing my Welcome to Derry, Episode 1, Season 1 review. I just got done watching about an hour ago. Fresh in my head, I got good thoughts, and I'm excited to get into this because I quite enjoyed this episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so I'm going to be doing this review a little differently, and I'm going to be trying to do most of my reviews differently from now on. I think I'm going to try and steer away from the let's talk about the good and then the bad section, and just talk about it in one fell swoop, in one big go. So yeah, I mean, this episode definitely starts with an absolute bang, man. I mean, right away it puts you into that Derry setting, but feels a little different. You know, this time we're seeing Derry in a Christmas setting, which we really haven't seen yet in this particular timeline of the It films. And it feels different but familiar. It definitely has that small town feel. You know, you start off in this theater, and you know, you once you head out to the exterior of the theater, you can tell it's a small town of Derry. And again, very familiar, but again different. You know, with this whole Christmas theme, it's just in a different time of year, and it just looks different. It feels different. It feels fresh. So they definitely did a great job with putting us right back in to this world, even though it is 30-something years prior or whatever it is. And I'm really, really intrigued as to how they're going to be doing this and handling this timeline thing, because we already know they have 3 seasons planned. I don't know if everybody knows this, but they have 3 seasons for this show planned. You know, season 1 is going to be in the 60s. I think season 2 is the 30s, and then I think season 1 is going back to the early 1900s. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they handle all these timelines, and how these these places in time, the people in each time handle, and are affected by it, or by Pennywise, or whatever you want to call it. So that's going to be really interesting. I can't wait to see how they handle that. And you know, with this episode, man, they did not hold out. You know, I mean, typical first episodes of seasons are a little slower. You know, they got to take the time to lay out the groundwork, get us used to the characters and the setting. This episode certainly does that, and it is a little slower. But there are 2 really like blow your mind type of sequences. One at the beginning, where this kid that we're kind of following this kid, Maddie. He, you see him in the trailer. You know, he's just walking down the street. He gets picked up by this nice family, gets in the car with them, and things take a turn for the weird very quickly. You know, they're driving, and the girl sitting next to him pulls out a container of liver, is what it says on it, and she puts her hands in, takes the blood out, and then makes him smell it, which was strange, in typical Pennywise fashion. And then they start spelling out just a bunch of different words, until the mother in the front of the car literally pushes a fucking alien mutated baby out of her vagina. Definitely an interesting visual. I don't think I needed to have that seared into my brain. I think they went a little too far with it, personally. Like, I'm all for blood and gore, but I really did not have to, see the baby coming like right out of the vagina. It just was a little much. I mean, you really saw it. Like, it was crazy. Having said that, though, the effects did look pretty good for the alien mutated baby thing. Like, again, that's typical Pennywise stuff. And it was flying all over the car and shit, and it was attacking everybody. And then presumably it kills Maddie, this kid. And this is kind of a theme that runs throughout this episode, where you follow either this person or these specific people, and then they end up dying. The same thing happens with our characters later in the episode. Terry and Phil, we meet them early on in the episode, and we were with them this whole time. And then at the end, presumably, they die in that theater sequence where the baby returns and it comes through the screen. Crazy sequence, big budget, you can already tell. Not quite movie budget. It didn't quite look as crisp. You could definitely tell they're working with a TV show budget, but it was still a crazy sequence, especially for an opener of an episode. And it presumably kills them. The only one who survives is Lily, which I was very happy about, because right away, she is the character that I instantly latched onto first. There's just something about her that makes you want to root for her. She's the outcast, and everybody's kind of against her and thinks she's weird. but you can tell that she's just a normal person, and that's always a very relatable thing, and you instantly latch onto her in this episode, or at least I did. And I would have been very upset if she had died at the end of this episode. With the other three who die, Phil and I just wasn't as big on them as I was with Lily. I was much more connected to her. But like I was saying, man, the budget on this show definitely shows in this in this sequence in the theater. And I knew we weren't going to get Pennywise in this episode. I wasn't really expecting to. I don't think we're going to see him personally for another 3 or 4 episodes. But you feel his presence even though he's not there. He's doing stuff to these kids, he's tormenting them. You got the voices coming through the drain again, which to Lily, it sounds like Maddie, which is someone she was close with, even though nobody really knew it. And, so he's tormenting them, but he's not there yet. You don't see him, you don't hear him, but it's his typical bullshit play where like he's just tormenting these kids. And so I think it's really smart to feel his presence while not showing him. That way, they don't, that's the main attraction. You want to see Pennywise. So I think this will make it a bigger moment when he finally shows up and we finally see him. It'll be like an moment. I'm glad they did that. I kind of wish they would have kept him out of marketing a little more, kept it very mysterious, and just kept him in the background, kind of like what Stranger Things is doing with Vecna. Kind of wish they would have taken that route. Like, we know he's coming, but we don't need to see him fully, because it'll make it hard. It'll hit so much harder when he actually shows up in the show, But still, like I said, I do think it's a good idea to withhold him from the first few episodes. But that's just only the one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is the whole military aspect of this episode. Basically, an entire military group has moved into Derry. They have a whole sector there. It's like I think he said it's like one of the biggest like sectors in the country, or most important, of like this the military. And it's being run by James Remar's character, General Shaw. And these 2 new Air Force pilots come to town. The one you really want to focus on is Leroy Hanlon. He's got a family that he moved into town with, and he's again an Air Force pilot, and he has this really good scene with General Shaw, which is again James Remar. And they tell each other about their backstories and how both of their fathers, fought in wars and stuff, and we're so proud of them when they finally decided to join up. So there was some relationship there, some relatability with them too. And I don't know how necessarily this whole military plot is going to play into the rest of the season per se. But it's definitely going to have an involvement with these kids, because like even Phil, one of the kids, was already like thinks there's some weird shit going on, and that the flying baby thing ties into them, and they're doing some really weird shit. He loves to write these stories, and he's so like creative in that way, and they're obviously there for a reason, and obviously the part when these 3 guys in gas masks break into the bedroom, and they're like holding him at gunpoint, Leroy Hanlon, and they're asking for the specs of the jet and shit. So like there's this whole military aspect of the story, and we know it's going to tie in, but I think they did a good job setting it up and making us not 100% sure what's going on, but know that it's it's going to tie in again at some point. And most like starter episodes, pilot episodes have a lot of like exposition dumps and just a whole lot of talking scenes. There's quite a few of those in here, I will say. We get to meet like Phil's family and or Terry's family. Sorry, not Phil's family. Terry, who's one of the other kids. We meet his family. They're Jewish, and his brother and his mother and father clearly do not like support his his obsessions, I guess you want to call it, or his passions or whatever, which is comic books. He's reading a Batman comic in the episode, but so we do get to find out some of the backstories. Lily, we find out that hers is actually the most important. That her father was killed in an accident at one of the factories, and it was caused by her because she was in there and she left a toy in there, and he went back in for it, and the whole fucking thing went up. And And, everybody thinks it's her fault, and they all call her like a freak for that, and they all make fun of her with pickle jars because apparently there like a bunch of her father's body parts were like found in pickle jars after the explosion, which was really dark. And her father's been gone for about a year, and she doesn't want to go to his grave. She doesn't want to visit it. We know she's on medication. We heard about that as well. So we get to find out a little bit about all of their backstories, and I think they will be back, whether it'll be because obviously, again, Terry and Phil are dead. Lily is not, but Terry and Phil are. So I think they'll be back in like flashbacks and stuff. Or we'll just go like a couple months prior or something. Because it just seems weird to introduce them and then just kill them off like that, especially because we spent the entire episode getting to know them. But who knows, But overall, this was a really strong start. I would give this episode like an 8 out of 10. It was a really strong, good start. It feels like we're really just like right back in that world. But it, again, distinctly different as well. So yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this review of It Welcome to Derry, episode 1. Do be expecting weekly reviews here on the channel. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.